All right, here we go with the last part of the last chapter of the lemonade crime. Evan is at Scott's house and just got into trouble for making too much noise. Yeah, whatever, said Scott. You want to play Crisis? It's cool. And with that, he chucked the baseball to the corner of the room. Only it was harder than a chuck, and his aim was off. Way off. The ball winged across the room and caught the corner of the TV screen. There was a loud crash, and then the TV went dead. Both boys froze. Evan couldn't make a sound. He felt like he had a sock stuffed down his throat. There was a foot-long crack in the TV screen and a bunch of smaller cracks that looked like a spider web. The house was completely silent except for the noise of Mr. Spencer's footsteps running down the stairs. And then he was there, standing in the doorway, staring at the TV. Did you do that on purpose? He shouted at Scott. No, said Scott, I didn't. Because you're going to pay for that, every penny of it. Your allowance, your birthday money, forget Christmas presents this year. Do you understand? A vein popped out on Mr. Spencer's forehead like something in an alien movie. Every time he said a word that started with P, pay, penny, presents, white flecks of spit flew out of his mouth. Evan thought he was going to explode or something. Dad, I didn't. That television is brand new. Brand new. Do you hear me? Evan took a half-sideways step towards Scott. We're sorry. We didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. Mr. Spencer looked at Evan for the first time since coming downstairs. It was almost like he'd forgotten there was anyone else in the room. Slowly, he breathed in and out. His teeth were clenched. His jaw was as hard as a rock wall. Did you throw the ball? No, but we were, just playing, and the ball just kind of hit the TV by mistake. We didn't do it on purpose. Evan was scared. But he couldn't help thinking what a jerk Mr. Spencer was. Sure, his mom got mad plenty of times, and sometimes she yelled, but not when it was an honest accident. We're sorry, Dad, said Scott in a low voice. Well, that doesn't fix the TV, does it? Said Mr. Spencer. Without another word, he walked out. The room was quiet. Okay, then, said Evan just to fill the awkward silence. Scott looked down at the ground. Yeah, he said. He looked like his dog had just died. Evan picked up his baseball cap and jammed it on his head backwards. So this was fun, he said deadpan, but Scott didn't smile or even lift his eyes off the floor. Evan could understand. It was lousy when your own parent yelled like that in front of another kid. It made you feel like your whole family was just dirt. Scott probably wanted him to leave. Well, I'd better get home. Okay, said Scott, and thanks, for stepping in like that. Sure, no problem. 'Cause, my dad loves that TV. I mean, he really loves it. So, thanks. It's what friends do, said Evan, turning to leave. That caught him by surprise. He hadn't meant to say that to Scott. It was a little hard to think of Scott as a friend after everything that had happened. But where were they? He and Scott. Not friends, but not enemies. Somewhere between. Someplace that didn't have a name or even any rules. Evan scratched the back of his neck. So, I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry about the basketball game yesterday and the trial and everything. Look, you say you didn't take the money, and that means you didn't take the money. And I'm sorry I made such a big deal out of it and that I was such a jerk. Scott nodded his head once. Well, yeah. Forget about the Monday morning or the morning meeting thing, You and Jesse apologizing because, just forget about it. Okay, Evan felt better. He felt better than he had all week. It was like he'd been carrying a backpack full of rocks for days and days, but now he felt so light he could practically fly. And man, was he hungry. He could hear the chocolate chip cookies calling to him from all the way down the street. Scott still looked pretty miserable, though, so Evan just said, "See ya," and turned to leave. He was at the top of the stairs when Scott called out, "Hang on." Evan turned and watched as Scott reached into his pocket and pulled out a key, then used it to unlock the file cabinet in the corner. Evan hoped he was going to offer him a yodel for the road. A yodel would taste pretty good right now. But it wasn't a yodel that Scott pulled out of the file cabinet. It was an envelope, and Evan recognized it right away. It was Jesse's envelope, the one that had the $208 in it. Scott handed it to him. "I'm sorry I stole your money." Evan took the fat envelope. He'd forgotten what a thick wad the $208 was. All that work, all that sweat, mixing the lemonade and hauling it all over town and standing in the hot summer sun. And then having to tell Jesse that he'd lost the money. That had been the worst part of all. "I guess you're pretty mad, huh?" said Scott. Evan was surprised to hear himself say, "No," and surprised to know that he meant it. Maybe it was the crummy trial or the nasty basketball game or the fact that he hadn't eaten anything in nearly 24 hours. Whatever it was, Evan felt emptied out. There just wasn't any anger left inside him. "Why'd you take it, though?" he asked, looking at the money. Scott shrugged. "I don't know. Because you had it, I guess." "Oh," said Evan. That didn't make sense to him. It's not like Scott needed the money. After all, his parents bought him everything he wanted. The newest iPod, the best hockey skates, the biggest TV. It just didn't make sense to Evan. But some things never do. "I gotta go," Evan said, stuffing the envelope into the front of his shorts. The sun was low in the sky, and his mother didn't let him ride his bike after dark. Soon he'd go over to Adam's house for the big meal that marked the end of the Day of Atonement. "See ya," he said to Scott. "Yeah, later." They both walked out into the front yard. Then Evan climbed on his bike. "Hey," shouted Evan as he pedaled down the driveway. "The next time a ball goes over the fence, it's got your name on it. You owe me for that." Evan didn't stick around to hear Scott's reply. It would come up again. The ball in the swamp. The next time they were messing around on the basketball court. And there's one, so that is the end, but there's one last thing that you really have to see. So gosh, he did it. I think we all kind of thought he did. I wasn't sure though. But I don't know if you can see that. This is a solemn pact of silence. Let the mail truck go by. So this document, that's the very last page, says private, confidential, do not read, solemn pact of silence. This contract is legal and binding for all parties who sign below. The undersigned do solemnly swear to never reveal to the members of the classroom or to any adults who might ask questions what really happened to the $208 that went missing from Evan Trusky's shorts pocket on September 5th. This matter is considered closed, now and forever, and the details of it will be sealed for all time. And it's signed by Evan Trusky, Jesse Trusky, and Scott Spencer. So that's come an interesting end. So there it is.